All right. We've got a little, we've had artists on the last couple of weeks. So we've got a little tribute here, and Matt's he's gonna be doing a great job. Here we go. So everyone will sit back and enjoy. This is the artwork of our last three artists that we've had on so far. think we're okay now. Matt, Reverend Matty F, thank you for joining us. Thank you for that. That was
You're quite welcome. Ooh, let me turn this off. Okay.
That was greatly appreciated. So
thank you.
Matt, welcome to our Zoom, everybody. This is Matt Faccenda, the Reverend Matty F, joining us here, Woodhaven's own, and I'm gonna get rid of this carousel background because it's I don't like that. I like my own background. I like my
it's very Woodhaven-y.
So
Woodhaven-ish.
Anyway, listen, Matt. Why don't we start off? Just bring us back to you know, your early days. What with you know, picking up a musical instrument. What age did you start playing?
I think I was 7.
Mm-hmm.
And let me just turn a little bit of this off. Okay, I think I was 7, and there was a place on 88th Street and Jamaica Avenue called JAF, JAF Music Center, where they sold sheet music and at the time what we used to call lawsuit guitars, because the Japanese were making exact copies of really high-end American guitars, and they gave music lessons and dance lessons. All right, and I wanted to play the guitar, and my parents said, okay, but you have to take lessons. Okay. And my teacher's name was Mr. Napoli. And he was literally a little old man, and he had terrible, big arthritic knuckles, and his hands were like gnarled. But you put a guitar in this guy's hands, and he was a genius. Okay. And at the time, there was no internet or anything like that. Like right now, I could go on YouTube and learn any song I want in 5 minutes.
Right.
Okay. Back then, there was nothing like that. So you used, Alfred's basic guitar method, and you played songs that were 1,000,000 years old. Come Back to Sorrento, stuff like this. This guy used to sit there to warm up and used to do Flight of the Bumblebee.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And I used to sit there with my jaw hanging open. 7 years old, little short kid, that he had to put a box under my foot so I could reach it from the chair so I could tap my foot. And I used to bring him a cigar every lesson or so. Sometimes I'd skip, but he really liked his Cuban cigars, and I knew where to get them. And I would get he would spend a little extra time with me, and he would give me some really cool advice that paid off. Later in life. So this was probably around 1968 or 69.
So now you learn the guitar, and so now what was your next step in your musical journey after that?
Well, you go into your teens, and you do the battle of the bands in high school and whatnot. I did all of that, and I was in a couple of different bands. We played some places on Northern Boulevard, little places around in Queens, in the 18, 19, 20 years old, like that. And then Eddie Van Halen came.
Okay.
And I decided at that point that it was probably not going to be lucrative for me to try to become a rock star. Okay. With such a guy out there, it was just pointless. So I stopped playing the guitar, and I went and I did a life. I did the whole thing. I did all kinds of jobs. Ed, I did everything from spin pizzas. I drove a Mr. Softy truck. I did all kinds of jobs until I finally landed in IT in 1993 or 1994, when IT actually became a thing.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And there I spent until 2011, one job for 12 years. And then came this horrible thing we have in this country called the economy. All right. 2008 happened. I got laid off. My boss got laid off. His boss got laid off. It was like the fish in the pond, the big fish eating the smaller fish, eating the smaller fish, eating the small fish. And then somebody comes and eats the big fish and the bigger fish. And 2011 comes, and I got laid off for the last time. I was getting laid off every 5 minutes. It was terrible. I had my encounter with a guy named James, on Myrtle and Broadway in front of the Dunkin' Donuts. All right. Somebody owed me money from Mr. Softy, who I didn't work for anymore, and I was waiting for her to show up to pay me. And I see this guy with a really high-end, expensive Gibson on his back, and a little amplifier strapped to his back, almost like a parachute.
Okay.
Okay. And I went over to him and I said, dude, what are you doing with that? Yeah, it's out in the open. What if it rains? You keep that in a case in your house. And he's like, I needed to make a living. I said, what do you do? And he looks up, because you're standing underneath the L at that point. It's essentially Myrtle and Broadway, the station.
Right.
And he looks up and he says, I play on the trains. I said, is there money in that? And he says, I got 3 cell phones, a girlfriend, nice apartment. That's how it is. He said, what do you do? I said, well, I dabble in, I fix computers. I'm an IT guy that's out of work, blah, blah, blah. A couple of weeks later, he calls me up. We exchange cards. He calls me up and says, my netbook is like full of viruses and spyware and all this other stuff. I said, bring it over and I'll clean it for you. And he came in and he got a load of this. This, by the way, Ed, could you blow up my picture a little bit?
Yeah, let's see. I think let me do this. Hold on.
Yeah, I think you could put me in focus, right?
All right. There we go.
All right.
Yeah, tell us what's going on here in the studio.
Okay. What do you mean what's going on?
No, I mean, like, explain it to us. Point us out.
Okay. This is what I call the cockpit. I do my streams from here. Anyway, James comes in here and he's looking around and I'm fixing his netbook and there's guitars all over the place and synthesizers. He says, well, you're obviously a guitarist. You want me to teach you how to make some money. So I said, okay. All right. I took an acoustic guitar off the wall that I hadn't played in like 10 years. And we started working the J train together and the rest becomes history. And I become a living Woodhaven outlaw playing songs such as The Horse with No Name, Ziggy Stardust, Secret Agent Man on the J train, on the E train, and on the 7 train. All trains that connect really easily. Okay. And this is how I made a living until almost the end of 2017 when my back and my neck started making such issues that I ended up on disability, which is where I am now. Anyway, this is Studio M. Get it? MATTY FM.
Okay. I was wondering where you got that. Yeah.
This is Studio M. And anybody that sits in this chair, I tell them, go ahead, sit in the cockpit. And what I see is not exactly what you see. I see something much more complex that's behind your head, so to speak, that I don't see. I've got 6 monitors in here. All right. I'm using a laptop that's designed for this. It has 64 gigs of RAM just for the video card.
Wow.
Okay. So I made sure it was really high end. And the equipment, and you learn this early on when you're a musician, is I buy high end equipment, you spend the money and you don't have the problems. And that's what it is. And this is what makes Studio M Studio M.
So now before you show us some more, I want to go back. I want to go back to your time on the train there. I mean, what was that like, your first time?
Well, for the first couple of weeks, James and I would meet at Crescent Street on the J train, and we would work in like a circuit between Broadway Junction and Suffolk Boulevard, and then change direction and go back the other way. And I was basically accompanying him with his songs. He was an instrumentalist. Okay. And I was on acoustic and he had the electric thing with the parachute amp that he made himself. I was very impressed with that. And after a couple of weeks, he announces to me that he wants to go to Europe and busk his way on the buses and trains across Central Europe. Okay. I guess the same way that somebody would want to take a cycling tour of Europe.
Right.
Like the Monty Python episode about the cycling tour.
Right.
So he goes and does that, but not before handing me over to his mentor, which was this guy named Ziggy. All right. Ziggy came from a family that were diamond merchants, but it just wasn't him. And he had to do his own thing. And he was known at the time on the trains in terms of people that were performing for money. He was the #1 earner in our organization. We were organized. We used to have functions. There used to be awards. There's a whole subculture of people that busk in the subway. So he gave me to Ziggy, and I liked Ziggy's style. Ziggy didn't just, sometimes you get on a train and some guy in some regular looking Joe gets on with some guitar and plays a song, and he could be good or he could be terrible. One thing you learn is that unless you're good, you don't make any money in the subway.
Okay.
You have to be good at what you do. All right. I'm trying not to use terrible words.
Thank you.
like suck. Like if you suck, you're not going to earn any money.
Right.
Right. At any rate, I observed Ziggy would have like a uniform. He would put on like a black cowboy shirt with the white piping and wear the little bolo tie, you know, 2 little ropes, with a black hat with chrome decoration around the headpiece and whatnot. His guitar was black. Okay. He used to use 2 little amps that he used to carry on a luggage cart, little tiny Roland amps called the Roland Cube. And when the song was done, he used to really like the song "Ain't No Sunshine When She's Gone." Okay.
Bill Withers.
We used to do that, and I forget whose version we used to do. A lot of people did versions of that song. But we did it. And when the song was over, he would take off the hat and he would quietly go down one side of the train car with the hat and everything. And sometimes he would get I felt a little too close to people's face with the hat. But by the time he came back up the other way after servicing the other side, he would come back with $30.
Right.
So I observed that, and I had kind of a falling out with Ziggy because his drinking problem used to get in the way, and some days we couldn't get any work done. Okay. So I decided that Matt Faccenda, which is my name, some of you may know me from around town or recognize me from around town. I hang out at Sam's a lot. Matt Faccenda did not go out to work on the trains. Matty F went out to work on the trains. I had a uniform with a fedora. I used to like the fedora that was made by Gateway Fedoras that John Belushi wore in the Blues Brothers. Okay. So I would get a high-end fedora. I would dress in a certain color. I used a blue guitar that I had, so I matched all the time and everything. So my alter ego would go out and work on the train. I would get in character, even with the police. And with the police, that's a whole other story. I have been detained, arrested. I was detained once for not doing anything. So that was a problem also. And it dawned on me after several months of doing this that I was actually on the police blotter at the 109th precinct as a non-threat. Like they realized I wasn't a bum or anything. So for a while there, the police used to just turn their heads the other way because I wasn't a drug addict. I wasn't a wino or anything like that. I wasn't a bum. But there was some times where I was really given a hard time.
Now, is it? I thought it was. Is it legal now, but it wasn't legal then, or what?
No. Okay. You go to buy a Metro card. Let's say you go up to 85th Street by the J train, right? When you're standing on the side of the turnstile where you're buying a Metro card or conducting whatever with the person in the booth, the law is different on the other side of the turnstile.
Oh, okay.
Okay. When you're outside, it's NYPD. Everything's illegal. Except now, apparently, pot smoking isn't.
Okay. Right. Yes.
All right. But once you go into that turnstile, hi, Ann. How you doing, honey? I see her. She's smiling. Look, she's smiling at me. Once you go through the turnstile, suddenly the rules have changed. Now it's not the law anymore. It's the MTA Rules of Conduct.
Okay.
It's a whole document. 1050-6 is the section about performing and busking and religious presentations and things like this in the subway. Okay. There is no legality. There is no legal way for you to get on a moving subway train and do your thing. But that's where the money was, and I used to do it every day. This was a matter of survival. This wasn't a matter of getting over because I thought I was a smart ass or anything like that. I needed to survive. Okay. And, we made it. We used to, get the rent paid, and we had a couple of cell phones, and, you know, as you know, Kathleen then got the gig at City Field, which is part-time, but it's a job,
Right.
you know. And you know, this is what you did. You could, now the platform is a whole different thing. You could play on a platform. Like I could go up to Forest Parkway if I can only get up the stairs, which is impossible. I'd sit on a bench with an acoustic guitar and sing the entire 1970s WABC catalog.
Right.
Without any problems. The minute you use anything electronic for amplification, it becomes illegal. Okay. One of the problems was, you know, you could go into the city, like 14th Street is a big winding station with tunnels and all this other stuff going on, right? And you would see people playing in the tunnels, outside the tunnels. There's certain things you have to do to remain legal. You could use amplification if you're on a mezzanine. But at no time could you block a stairwell or block a doorway that MTA employees have to use. And there's a decibel level. Okay. Who walks around with a decibel meter? And literally, physically measure the air pressure that's changing from the volume of your sound. Nobody does that, but they would use it as an excuse. And then sometimes you would find that you would be dealing with a police officer and you would realize that he wasn't, the problem was not that he simply wasn't versed in what the rules were. And I found out one day the hard way that you don't take out the copy of 1050-6 with the yellow highlights that say, officer, these are your rules and regulations. Please read them. Okay. Because my head hurt for a week. But, you know, this is how it was. Sometimes it was rough, but some days it was like being a superhero. I would get on the J train at 70 at Eldritch Lane, and I would hop on. And by the time I got to Suffolk Boulevard, I was all warmed up. I probably made a couple of dollars. Okay, I would get on the E train and work that to Roosevelt Avenue, and then go all the way up the million elevators to the 7 train. And I would work between Roosevelt Avenue and Grant Street. Okay, and take that circle, and it was really great because it would run through the Korean sector in Flushing. I mean, you would look out of the train windows and everything was signs I couldn't read. Okay, but in Asian culture, busking is like a high-end, respected occupation. You know, and they dig it. So it was very natural for them to tip.
Gotcha. Okay.
You know, if you know, there's an element of luck involved, being in the right place at the right time. As the train comes in, you got to watch the windows and kind of evaluate, is it worth me getting on this train? You know, but, you know, some days you just don't hit the mark. You start off on the wrong train. You can't make up the timing and everything. And I had episodes where one day I made $3. And the next day I made $300. Yeah. You know, it's luck is a thing.
So now what were your big requests or big songs that you used to say? I know you mentioned a few before.
I used to not take requests. I used to just make up my mind, hop on the train, take a look around, and just burst into my act. Okay. I found that worked the best. And the highest earning song that I had in my repertoire was The Horse with No Name by America. In 1972, it was probably the biggest hit of the summer.
It was big, right? Okay.
Every time you turned on the radio, it was on. You know, that was when Harry Harrison used to DJ WABC. And Cousin Bruce. The second was Johnny Rivers' version of Secret Agent Man. People seem to dig spy music.
It's a great song. Yeah,
it is. You know, they gave him a number and they took away his name.
Yeah.
It's so deep when you think about it. You know, don't let the wrong word slip when kissing persuasive lips. Very James Bond.
Yeah.
you know, and it used to hit people. And the other one was Ziggy Stardust, especially after David Bowie died. People used to cry for me when I used to do Ziggy Stardust for them. I used to do this all on acoustic guitar. I can't do it like that anymore because the acoustic guitar is, the physics are different.
Gotcha.
You know, it's more of a strength exercise than anything else. But those were the three major songs. But if I want, like, every August they would have the tennis matches, right? What do they call that series every year?
U.S. Open.
Yeah, the U.S. Open at Arthur Ashe, which is across the road there from Citi Field. Okay, so I used to wait at Roosevelt Avenue, and I used to catch a train with everybody wearing their white tennis garb and the visors and everything. And I would get in a packed train and, like, literally be balancing myself against two strangers and bust into Horse with No Name. And I would make $20 and $30 a car during the U.S. Open. I used to take it from Roosevelt Avenue right to Metz Willits, where they all used to get off,
right,
and then turn around and go back to Roosevelt Avenue and work that little circuit. And every time look for people in tennis garbs. So Christmas time and U.S. Open was when you racked up.
Wow.
Okay, and that's how it was. And a lot of times, if there was a game at Citi Field, and it was time for it to be over, I would wait and I would meet Kathleen at Metz Willits, and we would come home together. You know, so it was kind of convenient. I saw many things working in the subway, especially the underground portions of the subway. Okay, at least 2 people attempted to murder me. And there were other incidences where I needed police assistance and whatnot. So it was a dangerous game that was getting more dangerous when I couldn't do it anymore. So I was really happy that I was done with it. Okay. By this time, I had revisited having a band, and I formed a band called Bad Canary. And it lasted a little while, and then the personnel issues are the biggest problem with amateur level bands and whatnot. So I stopped doing it, and I started streaming, and this brings me to what I am today, which is a streaming artist.
Gotcha. All right. Well, I think we'd love to hear you make some music.
Okay. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform one of my own songs called Legend in Your Own Mind. And it's about a guy. My songs are all about real people that I've encountered in my life and their traits. And this particular guy, who remains nameless in the song and whatnot, and to this day probably has no idea that the song's about him. He tried to start a church where his position was God.
Well,
he made a real attempt at it. So I wrote Legend in Your Own Mind.
I think that job's filled.
Yeah, right. I'm going to perform that song for you, and it's going to interpolate into what has been named by my viewers on stream as the cheese-eating monkey pig concerto.
All right.
In E minor. So if you do a little talking there, give me a minute to get set up.
You got it. All right.
All right. And I'm going to kill this mic now, and I'm going to use the other mic.
I'm looking forward to this. I tell you, I have absolutely zero musical talent. When I was young, I actually was learning how to play the trumpet, and this culminated in my only public musical performance on New Year's Eve. I'm about 7 or 8 years old.
I remember this story.
I was in bed sleeping, and my mom, she might have had a few. Again, it was New Year's Eve. They had a few people over, and she dragged me out to prove that I could play guitar. And I was too embarrassed to play for everyone, so I had to go in the next room. I had to go in the kitchen to play, and there was only one song that I knew how to play at that time, and it was taps. So here it is with the trumpet. I play taps, and inside there's a bunch of people there. And one of the gentlemen there is guy Bob Bierman. I'm friends with his daughter on Facebook, still Kathy, and Bob. He got emotional, and he's a World War II veteran. He got up and he saluted, and people were crying and everything. And then I finished, and my mom shouted out to me, "One more time." So I did it
Oh,
again.
no way.
I did it a second time. And then that was it. I've never played in public since then. So
You know,
I had to give up the trumpet. So
you know when you told me that story?
what?
When you were on my show that time.
Oh, and I was
Walter
on there.
Allinger.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's my only musical story. All right, man. Listen, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, here comes Legend in Your Own Mind. Mr. Know-It-All, bohemian cool. Think you're all that and think me a fool. Maybe you need a lesson to learn. Lose a notch, crash and burn. Player and loser, for you is the same. Self-proclaimed badass, stupid and lame. Live like a bum, think you're an ace. Ignorant flunky, total disgrace. Legend in your own mind, smarter than us all. Legend in your own mind, all-time loser and too dim to hear the call. Your truth is your own, whatever you read. Self-absorbed bullshit, all in your head. Did me a favor, took me to school. I learned to score, you stayed a fool. Legend in your own mind, smarter than us all. Legend in your own mind, all-time loser and too dim to hear the call. Mr. Know-It-All, bohemian cool. Think you're all that and think me a fool. Maybe you need a lesson to learn. Lose a notch, crash and burn. cheese-eating monkey pig. Cheese-eating monkey pig. Cheese-eating monkey pig. Cheese-eating monkey pig. All you guys are in the house. So awesome, it's plain to see. Thank you all for being here. Cultural society. Oh yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Cheese-eating monkey pig. Cheese-eating monkey pig. Cheese-eating monkey pig. Thank you very much.
All right. All right. Oh, that was fun. That was fun. Thank you, Matt. Thank you. All right. Hey, listen, when you were doing that, you reached back and you got something else in place, like a guitar pick. It had a little light on it. You were using.
Okay.
What was that?
This is an interesting piece. I started seeing these things. I read Guitar Player magazine, which came out in the mid '60s. It was like the first guitar. It was like the first rag for guitar players.
Right.
Okay. Like Joe Pass used to read Guitar Player, and this was always, there's a section in the back of the magazine, even to this day, where they sell kind of off the mainstream type of products. And I started seeing these in the mid '70s, and I could never figure out really what it was about, and they were kind of expensive. But I did some research on it back in 2016, and I decided to get one. This is called an EBO.
Mm-hmm.
See, there's my little light. See the little light?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a 9. You could see it's kind of shaped like a 9-volt battery because that's what's in this part of it. And what it does is you rest this. There's a little channel in here that you put over the string that you want to affect, and there's 2 little feet here that sit on the 2 adjacent strings to help keep you in place.
Okay.
And what it does is it sends electromagnetic impulses at a terrific rate. You know, on a guitar, the strings are steel.
Right.
Okay. Unlike acoustic guitars, which could be bronze, and this wouldn't work. Okay. And what it does is it acts like a bow instead of a pick. That's why you didn't hear any picking noise. It became, the guitar becomes almost like a synthesizer.
Gotcha. Okay. Interesting.
And you heard that let's say it's infinite sustain and whatnot. And that's the EBO. There's another device called the VO wand, which some people, it's one of those devices that people buy them, and if they don't love them, they hate them. And the next thing you know, they put them up on, you know, the for sale boards and stuff on Facebook and sell them. But people that buy an EBO never let go of it. I've had this for years. I'll keep this EBO for the rest of my life.
Wow.
You know,
Nice.
this is a great piece. I use a medium gauge shape 351 guitar picks. It's just standard shape guitar pick. Some of them have the show that you were on the Night Watch version.
Right.
My stream. All right. And you know, I had picks that said Night Watch on them and whatnot. And before that, it was Robot Submarine. These are some of the Robot Submarine picks. They glow in the dark.
Oh, wow.
And I gave them I used to give them out like people, if somebody sent me a really good tip, I would autograph one of the picks and, give me your address and I would mail it
Yeah,
to them.
I've got one of your Night Watch ones around here in this room. I've got it someplace.
Yeah, probably. Either that or I might have given you a robot submarine.
Now give me one of those. You gave me one. I remember last time I was there. You gave me
Yeah.
one.
So I used to try to make sure everybody got one, and why do I do this? I do it to stay relevant because, like I explained to you guys before, like for me to like leave the house and walk over to Sam's and hang out and come back, I am wrecked for the rest of the day by the time I get back upstairs. This whole thing, this whole thing with the virus, and everything, it locked everybody in the house for a year. Nobody went much of anywhere, and everybody's out of shape. People are walking on Jamaica Avenue, and they can't breathe because they're just so out of shape because there wasn't enough activity.
Yeah, it's been a long year.
It's been a really long year. And now this thing with the Johnson and Johnson vaccine.
That's what we're going to do. We're up on the hour. I want to bring everybody on so we can say hello to everybody.
Sure.
And let me.
If everybody's got questions, I'll be happy to.
Yeah, we'll take some questions from everybody, and we'll. Let's see if I do. All right. We're actually people on mute now. That's good. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. MATTY, thank you. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I had fun. It's all good practice for me.
And I really loved, the way we started off with a nice collaboration. And that's, one of the things that we want to see with the artist spotlight is over time, we want to see some nice opportunities for artists collaborating. So thank you for that. So everyone, let's say hello. Does anyone have any questions for MATTY?
I do.
Here we go.
Yes, Louise.
Please.
Hi, Matt. Are you self-taught on the organ, or did you study with
The
somebody?
keyboard thing was a matter of necessity, and I started out literally like, what the heck is this thing?
Huh.
And I went. My friend Paul is a trained and pretty gifted keyboardist, and I used to jam with him a lot, and I used to watch what he did, and to this day, when he hears me doing solo work and whatnot, he says that I approach all my solos like they're guitar solos, and I think that's what I do. I found a way to relate the instruments.
Are they two separate and different keyboards?
Yeah, the bottom one is made by a company called Novation. It's a very rich sounding FM synthesizer, and this one is new. This is by Korg, and it's a wave sequencing synthesizer. It's brand new technology, and it just does things that you want it to do. It's easy to use.
Helpful as a musician.
A lot of people buy a synthesizer and it comes with a manual this thick, and it takes you a month to figure out how to turn it on.
Yeah.
This was not like that. This out of the box. This guy started performing for me. This particular voice, I had to program myself because it didn't have this. That's sort of like a signature for me on stream. People expect that one, like signature voice. It took me like 3 weeks to program that.
Wow.
But I mean, the rest of it just fell in. I mean, beautiful stuff. I mean, here we. I mean, what a beautiful sounding synthesizer.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's self-taught, and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Your music is beautiful. I just loved listening to that whole thing. It was so peaceful.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Hey, MATTY, can you tell us a little bit about your status as a reverend?
Okay, I was ordained on February the 12th, 2015, by the Universal Life Church, and I was given the names of Reverend and Chaplain by the Universal Life Church. It's a non-denominational church. It's not a Christian church. It's not a Buddhist church. It's just non-denominational. So rather than baptizing babies, I do baby dedications, wedding ceremonies in the legal sense. I could officiate a marriage, which requires, you got to go to the city and get a permit. You pay them, and the permit is like a lifetime permit. I did a wedding a couple of weeks ago. I marry a lot of same-sex couples, and once in a while, a boy-girl couple. Once in a while, I have one coming up in May. Originally, I did it so that I would have a cool stage name, like I'm the Reverend Matty F. Okay,
Right.
all right. But when I realized after a while, there was like, I have the credentials to go to the city and do this. And, people, if you're going to come, like, it's COVID. So I've been marrying people in their houses. People appreciate that you come down, you take the risk to come down, and they don't mind, giving you a nice donation for your trouble. And then a lot of times they feed me. I hang out with them.
Yeah.
And it's how it is. So as it turned out to be, I actually do Reverend stuff, which I didn't expect.
Right.
So people ask me that a lot, especially on stream. I stream on YouTube, Twitch, D Live, and Trovo simultaneously. I do a few streams a week, which are not very different from what you just saw. Only I do a DJ thing with it using royalty-free music. And I know people that have written music that send me their royalty-free music so that the DMCA doesn't get mad. I don't have any copyright issues and stuff like that. So I'm sort of like a comic Gotham DJ. We have inside jokes on the stream and whatnot. I have different, every 10 minutes I do a plug.
The Reverend Matty F Show.
I applaud myself.
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is
Live from Studio M in beautiful downtown Queens, New York. The Reverend Matty F Show.
This type of stuff goes on the Reverend Matty F Show, which is what it's called. And I've done fairly well in that my viewers will go to like my Amazon wish list and get me stuff that I need.
Nice.
Like the framework that you got to put up to hold a bunch of monitors is a pain in the neck and it's expensive. Okay. So one of my viewers in Stockholm sent me the framework to hold 4 monitors.
Wow, nice.
I have a laptop sitting up here behind the keyboards that helps me control stuff about the keyboards. Okay. And the stand that it's on was another person in Vienna.
Wow.
So I appear to have a Central European following. And basically it's because of the music is sort of metal in a way. And they like that over there. There's a lot of, apparently in Central Europe, all this wizards and dragons and Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that is very popular over there. Real like cosplay conventions and stuff like that. And they dig the metal, and that's what they get. It's only recently since I was able to get beautiful violins that I started toying with really sweet passages and stuff like that. It opened kind of another door for me, this particular keyboard right here.
Nice.
Yeah.
You could do meditation music with that.
There's a thing that people do now. What's your name, honey?
Judy.
Judy. There's a thing out there now called ASMR. Anybody ever heard of ASMR? It's like a relaxation technique where the people use sound and sound effects and stuff to like relax you or make you feel a certain way. And personally, I think it's stupid. So I do comic ASMR. I'll do like Just imagine yourself in some kind of crazy canoe on some kind of crazy lake, fishing for some kind of crazy ass fish. Now some ASMR sound effects. That is all. Sometimes I do it with I'll do it with a.
That's a little bit more lo-fi. You know, you're watching the Reverend Matty show coming to you from Studio M in beautiful downtown Woodhaven, New York. Liebe vom Studio M in der wunderschönen Innenstadt von Woodhaven, New York.
You're good.
Because of my Central European audience, I had to learn to say stuff in German. Because Central Europe is largely German speaking. Even in Belgium, they speak German. You know, I know people that live in the Russian Republic that speak German. So I had to learn to say some of the show ID things and whatnot in German. You know, I tried to learn conversational German. It's a no-go, man. I can't do it. My father was a professional linguist. Okay. And he used to adjust foreign insurance claims, and he loved languages. He was into it. His Italian sounded like music when he spoke it. Okay. It was beautiful, but I could understand it, but forget speaking it, you know? So let's see, who do we have here? Hi, Pat.
Hey,
How you doing?
very well, thank you.
That's good. That's good.
Enjoy.
Scotty, how you doing? Give me a thumbs up, baby. There you go. And of course, my new pal, Luis Naples.
That's me.
Is your family
Luis-
from Naples?
No,
Sicily.
my husband's family's from Sicily,
And where's your family from?
Ukraine and Lithuania.
Okay. The arguments must be epic, right? Because I'm Sicilian. My mother was the Sicilian.
Uh-huh.
The arguments used to be, oh my God. You know, how to survive a Sicilian family. They should write a book or have like a manual, user manual for your Sicilian family. You know. So today I went to Sam's. Everybody knows where Sam's is?
Yeah.
On 80th Street.
Mhm.
And my good friend Christine, who I think might be out there somewhere right now, had grabbed some copies of the Leader for me. Hi, Corey. You look great, hon. You know, I went into Sam's and I was very happy. You know, I use a rollator, so I'm sitting in Sam's. And, you know, people are coming in. You hang out in Sam's for a couple of hours and you see everybody, you know, and I'm sitting there like this. What are you reading? And I'm like, shut up. I'm reading about myself in the paper. So I was like sitting there with my copy. Ed, the article was really nice. You did a great job.
I'm happy. It's great. And remember, 2 weeks from tonight, Louise Naples is going to be our guest here as our quilt maker.
I'm going to watch that.
Oh,
Thank you.
Sure. You know, when I got done on the trains, I tried to like do a little busking on Jamaica Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody ever paid any attention to me. They used to just like make me move and throw me out of the space in front of their store and everything. And now I'm on the cover. My friend in Florida, who was a policeman, he retired from NYPD and went to Florida and was instantly offered a job as soon as he moved to Florida. The police force was like, we need people like you. He saw the picture that you sent me because I posted it on Facebook. And he was like, how'd you get on the cover? Did you do a crime or something? I was like, no, I didn't do a crime. You know, but
You know
this
what
is
they say? You know what they say, Matt? I don't care what you say about me, but spell my name right.
it looks like I could do it. I could do it. My father was from Naples, actually. His family was actually from Naples. My mother was from the tip of the boot, like the toe,
Mhm.
My mother was from way out. They have curse words that nobody ever heard of. You know, they really do. And you listen to Italians argue, and they say stuff. Everything's genderized, so no matter what you say, it almost sounds beautiful. It ends in ah or o or and stuff like that. There's no hard sounds really. It's a romance language, right, Ed?
Absolutely.
And meanwhile, if you understand what they're saying the most atrocious things to each other. But, this is culture, which this society that you guys have. When I realized what Ed was doing, for a while, I have to admit, Ed, I wasn't paying attention.
That's fine.
Okay, but when I realized, especially last week, the April Fool's version was funny. When I realized this is cool, that there's an actual cultural society. It's not about the block association or the bums on Forest Parkway or anything like that. It's people that just dig the culture and the history.
Yeah,
and I think
see what's going to happen when everyone comes together. When everyone comes together, we're going to see what happens.
That's a much cooler thing. I wish we had a community theater.
That would be fantastic. That would be fantastic.
That would be just awesome. Like, I would like to see the community do something Shakespearean.
Yeah.
That would be so cool. I'm not saying the community should do an opera. I mean, you just heard my singing voice. Forget that. Okay. But it used to be a lot better. When I was working on the trains, there was no amplification. So my pipes had to be in really good shape. I used to get up in the morning and do exercises that opera singers do. And then I used to do Ave Maria all up and down the scale, as high as I could go, as low as I could go. And I would sit on the train, deep breathing and everything. I used to be able to belt it out so people could hear me all over the car with it moving. And, those J trains get pretty rattly and noisy.
Oh, yeah.
So this is great. I enjoyed playing for you guys. It's rare that I get to perform for the locals.
Yeah, this was
nobody's in Germany.
This was great. Listen, I want to thank you, Matt, for coming here tonight, and thank everyone for coming out. And
Thank you.
Thank you all. We're gonna be back next week with something. I'm hoping to get someone on from the carousel. If they are, then we're gonna hit the carousel, and then if not, we'll do something else. But we'll be back here next week. And again, as always, it was good to see everybody. And hope you're all being well and be safe. And we'll see you next week. Matty, thanks again.
Okay.
No problem.
Thank
Nice
you.
to see everybody. Thank you very much.
Good night.
I'm glad you didn't run away screaming.
No.
All right. Good night. Good night, everybody. Be well.
Everybody.
Good night, Corey. Good night,
Take care.
Scotty. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, Pat.
Wherever
Good
you
night,
are.
Ann.
Good
Good
night,
night, Louise.
Good night.
Good night, Maddie.
Good night, man.